Hey, Dave and Mickey.
Well, welcome to Shiny Side Out with Dave.
And Mickey!
I switched that up from the script that I wrote. And we're on WZCR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. It's home to fresh, unadulterated ideas and conversations that you can find those in the chat room. And it's a place to get your merch. Also, do get your merch. Do subscribe to the archives, and you know, be part of these conversations. And that's really cool. This is show number 470.
70 and 400. Who'd have thunk it?
I know, Mick Jagger. I don't know. Maybe we'll just last a year. Catch us on air, online, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. You know, they still haven't contacted me. If you missed the last show with Commander Cobra discussing military X-Files, and she had a co-host today, Willie Miranda, on From the Paradigm Matrix. Awesome stuff. Now, I didn't catch a bleep of it. But I'm going to, because I have access to the archives. I can jump in there and download the MP3 and listen at my own leisure. Now, it only costs $5 or thereabouts on the Patreon to access the archives. So please do that. And, you know, it's not awful. And Mackie and I also have a Patreon account too. You can find that in the show notes if you're listening to this on YouTube later on. Or if you're just catching this live, do come to Shiny Side Out. Find us on the net and help us out, because we bring you content. And if you like anything we say, like, subscribe, and donate if you can. Mackie and I live in Australia, and as such, there were traditional custodians of the land, of which we respect, and we pay our respects to elders past and present and future. And I said peasant, and I'm not a peasant plucker or a pheasant plucker. But, Mackie, where I live, the people's name, their mob name for this area is the 𝐫𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸. And where is it where you live?
For us here in lovely Pamela Way and the surrounding area, it's the Darug people.
Yeah. You know, I was listening, Mackie, this week to, I forget whose show it was. Oh my goodness. I think it was a Snowden interview, and the fellow in the US thanked not that they didn't call it traditional custodians of the land, but basically the elders from the Indian American.
The First people,
yeah? First Nation people in America. Woohoo, yes. Finally, some recognition. And you know what? I think that's fantastic. Well done, you guys, for doing that and stating it. And I do ask that you discover who it is that lived all those thousands of years ago in the land, and especially, Mackie, since the lands have been taken over by, what's the colonialism, yeah? So find the pre-colonialism peoples and understand who they are, learn about them. I've got to say, Mackie, since I haven't been on a show for a couple of weeks, I don't know, I feel a bit rusty, a bit squeaky.
I got some WD-40. Let me spray it on you liberally. No, you're doing good, man. Keep going.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, WD-40 is actually pretty handy for a bunch of things. And, like if you want to do... This is a different topic. But if you were looking at trying to, instead of finding a replacement for Zero weed killer, just white vinegar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. Vinegar is, in fact, for many things, white wine vinegar, cider vinegar, is phenomenal. It's got many applications, and that's one of them. Try it, drink it. In fact, drink it for cleansing kind of thing for yourself, detoxification.
Not too much of it. And it's an acid, and it's great for cleaning a barbecue and taking all the fat off. It's really good. So cleaning services.
We need to rediscover this, right? All these natural remedies we have abandoned in favor of. This is a great little. I guess it's a meme, if you will. And it was 4 pictures, black and white, old advertising photos. No flies. There was a picture of a toddler, I want to say, black and white, and there was a slogan superimposed over his face. No flies on me, thanks to DDT.
Yeah, I saw those.
And then there was another one, asbestos. Is there anything this miracle mineral can't do?
Can't do, yeah. It can't keep us healthy.
There was advertising for a cigarette brand, and I do forget the name of it. I'm going to call it Fresh Breath or whatever, right? It's a cigarette brand. It's a pregnant woman, and the text yet again superimposed over her, and the cigarette was, fresh taste. The flavor pregnant women crave.
Yeah. There you go. You know, it hits the T-zone, Mickey.
That's what it does.
The T-zone.
It's good for what discombobulates you.
You know, we have had a lot of learnings since those days when DDT was used. I remember, what was the one that basically caused polio? That was DDT, wasn't it?
No. Polio is a virus. You're talking about probably contageoud, like this. Are you talking about the 70s medication?
No,
birth defects?
It was the birth defects of having very short limbs.
Yes, that's contageoud.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. So you learn, right?
Also, I happen to have a friend. I haven't seen her in a long time, but her father was in Vietnam, and she's got an extremely rare birth defect, which was brought about by Agent Orange. We know that's what did it. So they it's a defoliation agent. So the American army sprayed it all over the jungles in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia.
For good reason, because the jungles are thick and dense, and they had nests of people underground.
100%. So it was essentially to kill off the foliage so they have better visibility. It didn't really make much of a difference in the end. They lost.
That's right.
No, it was a draw. It was a draw. It tells you. Anyway, so my friend, and this is serious, she's suffering from a rare birth defect. I think her children might have it, where she doesn't have an iris. Okay, her eye is not a pupil.
My goodness.
Crazy. Although she's okay. I mean, she does have obviously vision impairment, but lovely person. But the point is that there are not enough people with her condition for it to be recognized as a condition to be caused by Agent Orange. So there's no compensation. There's nothing. There's not enough of her. Right? It's not. It's so. I mean, everybody knows what caused it. There's no mystery. But it is not statistically significant. So she's not entitled to any form of government.
Oh, that's so awful, isn't it?
It's. I mean, it's astounding how. I mean, but this is what it is, though, Dave, and you know this as well. You probably know it better than most. Most people these days have become numbers and statistics.
That's right.
And the individual, the story doesn't really matter. And the thing is this: SBS is our special broadcast service here in Australia, and they've got a slogan: 7.5 billion stories and counting. They're fully recognizing that every person that you meet in the street, every person that you never meet in the street, has a story. Everybody has a story, right? And everybody has an interesting story, mostly, right? But it is completely disregarded by I guess, our culture in general, and then corporate culture specifically, where people are completely dehumanized.
Remember HR?
Yeah.
Well, it never used to be called human resources.
It was personnel.
It was personnel. Because that had too much person in it. Now, human resources, we're just like, it could be robotic resources. Could be a department coming soon, right?
In certain circles, HR is known as human remains. But the funny thing is this, right? It's true story. Obviously, we all let's
move along.
I happen to be in management, right? And And once in a while, you do have to make people. You have to let people go. It's what happens, right? And what did we call it? The value? Oh yeah, value capture. So they're euphemisms for this, especially when it happens en masse. Whenever IBM or banks or Volvo, whoever, lays off thousands or tens of thousands of people, they have to come up with euphemisms because it's never nice to say.
I like the dividend one. What was that one?
Dividend, yeah. We can't let go of 5,000 people. We can't say we fired 5,000 people. That's not right. We engage in value capture.
Value capture. The other one is dividends.
Dividends.
Something dividend. It's like amazing? A restructure dividend, but it's not using the term restructure. It means the same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Mm-hmm. But now it's dividend value capture, which is just reducing us to it's not even a resource anymore.
It's not even money. It just becomes they're just numbers.
Yeah, what it implies though, Dave, this is what it implies. A dividend is a good thing. A dividend is what you get. You got a share portfolio, they pay you a dividend because the company
profit.
Yeah, profit. But what it implies for the person that has been let go is that they're letting go, or that they're being let go. Now it results in a dividend or in value being captured. You being here is no value. Once you left, we capture all that value. Yay! and you I work in this, right? And
yeah.
And then always it's a very serious thing, and I had to conduct many of those.
Yeah. So sadly, it is the current output. It's the output of the economic crisis that we're currently all in, and it isn't a surprise because you just can't keep people on the books if you're not making the money, right?
Well, that is true.
So your boss says, "I'm sorry, we're not profitable at the moment. We're going to end up all of us losing our jobs. What can we do to fix this?" Rather than only pushing to sell if there's nothing to sell, we need to bring the costs down, and that's where it is.
Yeah, and you know what the kicker is? It's actually they're always kickers, right? Which completely slipped my mind. But the kicker is that you. Where was I going with this? I was going somewhere really profound.
Sorry.
Which no. It actually occurred to me as you were speaking, so it's not. You didn't interrupt me. I'm sure it'll pop back, and then I'll just jump in when it pops back.
Yeah. Do that.
Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah, right. Labor, right? So value capture, right? It's about labor, human labor, right? And we always thought, the greatest evil under the sun is to offshore labor. That's terrible, right? Because you're destroying economies, you're destroying your middle class, blah blah blah, all that stuff in the country that the labor is offshored from. That's no longer a thing, offshoring. I mean, we still do it, right? But you know what the new thing is, everybody? It is the end of labor. We don't want any labor. We want to automate everything, right? If you've got a machine or software doing the job for you, sweet bananas. Every manager, sorry, that's not true. Every spreadsheet manager's dream is to have nobody reporting to them. Every spreadsheet manager would love to be in an office that is completely empty. And it is so labor arbitrage, when you move high-cost labor to low-cost labor countries, has now efficiency dividends. That's right, has now been, which is actually worse, right? If you think about it. So that means you being there is inefficient. But so now it's about this getting rid of labor altogether, which ties in sort of with the Great Reset as well, and living wage, etc., etc. Because if you got nothing to do, if there's no work for you, then what do you do, right? So I mean, there'll be millions, hundreds of millions potentially of people that have no work. So what do? Well, they have to get a living wage because clearly the means of production still exist, and there's an output. Because the thing is this, right? People don't think this through. As you reduce the number of labor in the economy.
Yeah.
And this goes both for offshoring and for automation. So for offshoring, that particular economy, that country, no longer has sufficient labor resources, meaning there are less people that can spend money, right? Yeah. Whereas which it's worse though if you go to automation, the offshore country like India or Philippines or whatever, where you offshore your labor, they now also don't have jobs because the machine is
no one has jobs.
So if no one has jobs. And I've asked this for years.
How does the economy survive?
Who buys the stuff that they make?
No one.
Not a billionaire will not buy 10,000 Happy Meals, right? In a day. It's not going to happen, right? He's not going to buy 50,000 new sedans. Not that he ever drive a sedan, So this is really the problem here.
Yeah. So this is when the money goes to the top, and the only people that have money are at the top. They're only a single person.
All over.
Yeah.
All over, Red Rover.
That's right. Well, the fuel for our economy is the middle class.
100%.
So it's not the rich, it's not the poor, because the poor don't pay any tax, and the rich certainly don't pay a 𝐫𝐞𝐯 tax, right, with their Cayman Island, assets. What happens is it's the middle that pays, and the middle runs the country. It's been known for 200 years since taxes where all this was so popularized. And the people in the middle, these are people who are earners, who aren't the super wealthy. They run the country. Now the country needs money for hospitals and education and transportation and the admin and maintenance of all of those together, plus all of these other things that are all add-ons. All these gifts to other countries that we give them for favors, and we're just as irresponsible as the countries we currently dislike because of the same thing. You're going to have military. How can you afford all of this unless you print your own money? If you can just, instead of printing it today, you just type the numbers into someone's account. No one's going to care.
That's what the banks do.
It is what they do.
They've been doing this for a long time.
Yes, I know.
It's just nuts, right? It's just crazy.
Yeah, because, fake lending money between each other is exactly the same as just simply typing numbers in. And I think we're at a point, and I think, 𝐫𝐸𝐸, you agree, that the living wage and the way that the country should be run going forward, if there's no income for the government, there's no income vectors, then the only way forward is going to be just simply giving everybody money. I've always, 𝐸𝐸𝐸, since we've been talking about the Great Reset and all the other things that have come around, and the fiat currencies and fractional reserve lending, I've learnt so much about what truly runs everything. And it's only hope. Hope is the only thing that runs everything successfully. And why not just type some numbers into people's accounts and have everyone just currently, getting money? Companies wouldn't have to have that difference between the living wage and what they have to pay you. That could be deleted from the amount that you earn. So you're still earning the same amount. Yeah. But except for that little bit of say the 20 grand or 30 grand or 50 grand or whatever it is everyone would receive, then that just gets deleted from how much your company needs to pay you, because your agreement would be that, their wage less the one that the government's giving you. In the end, I think the majority of people in the government would be in better position. But if they only needed to type money in, then their income vector would just be simply someone falling asleep with their finger on the 0 button after they typed any prefix number, right? Greater than 0. Just let that run for 45 years, right? There's unlimited funds. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter a squat going forward. Because that's where we're
correct.
And I think some of the inspiration for development and, moving our nations forward would somewhat fall to the wayside. Some of that development wouldn't be there. The interest wouldn't be there. There wouldn't be any inertia. I think the inertia would sort of slow up. Unless we had a war, of course, because then all the tech gets, explodes in. So I'm sorry, I can't help it. It's the way I think. Because innovation happens when you need it. If its only need is because you want to earn another $1, the improvements slow down. Thinking about phones after the last 15 years, right? Once we got to a full glass phone, they've only improved the CPU and the cameras, and pretty much the app development is the thing. The OSs didn't get any better, the CPUs did. So militarily, everything in a phone came from an origin of military. Everything. So I think the military edge of it, we have to have pretend wars to bring the military up, because there hasn't been a true real war.
Well, see, the problem is, because we and look, you're right. War does encourage and foster innovation
Yeah.
and progress. It does, 100%. There's something fundamentally wrong with us because it does that. But if we could redirect the resources we put into that, into true innovation and free technology access to all, etc., etc., I believe very firmly. So if you make all knowledge available, that's what I mean. There's nothing analog and key anymore. You make all technology available to everyone, all theories, all formulas, etc., etc. I reckon we would see an explosion of innovation. What we have right now, even though war is driving it forward, but war is driving it forward in very specific ways, and for pinpoints in time as well. The Cold War, drove innovation as well. The space program and so forth. But if everybody had access to the information and education to do something with that access, just imagine where we could be. Imagine how far we could go. It'd be there'd be nothing stopping us, nothing. But it's not that way. And as we learned over the last few weeks listening to the show, Tesla's patents, inventions, etc., a large swathe seems to be still under lock and key, and there's just nothing we can do about it, right? It's really dreadful. There's a couple of topics though, Dave, we should discuss. I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room being sexual assault globally, but specifically in Australia. So I want to spend some time on that.
Yep.
We should also we need to talk about the virus, and in fact we should talk about. And you made a very good point in the chat just now to me personally. So privately, just Dave sending me through. We should look at the development of 2019, 2020, and then 2021, and it just what has hit us, not just in Australia but globally even, right? Because there's a theme here. In 2019, I think we can start if you like. There are fires. But it wasn't just Australia. The fires were globally. There were fires in Siberia. There were fires in the Amazon. There were fires in North America as well. There were fires in Europe. There were fires everywhere, and there were unprecedented fires.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, that's going to be the news for a long time.
in fact, it's gonna change the way we look at things in 2020.
Yeah. No.
That was what we thought. Not even at all.
So what happened, Dave? What happened that completely sidelined? Now, see, the thing is, I saw a documentary. This was probably a few weeks ago on ABC about the fires, and it was just like a year ago, right? And I go, oh yeah, that happened. That happened.
Yeah, that's right.
All these fires.
Yeah.
Right.
And the most amount of burnt territory in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Except for meteor impacts.
Well, but
that's
don't
pretty
know
bad.
About that, so yeah.
Like in 200 years, it's the most amount of stuff that's ever burnt on the surface of the earth.
That's a lot of burning.
And we lost billions of animals, right?
Billions, yes, we did.
Billions of wild creatures in Australia, right? We lost them.
Yes,
they're gone.
Yes, we did.
It's pretty safe to walk through the bush now. There's no ants. There's no spiders. There's no snakes.
Sad, but yes.
So, absolutely, the pivotal thing that we thought about 2020, we were wrong. Because the virus, here comes the virus. Woo! Look at that, something new. Well, we just got over the old fires. Would have been bad if they were combined, virus, fire.
Please.
But see, the virus and its CFR is almost disappointing now. We had to go through so much, and there's countries now, Meki, and I forget which ones they are specifically, that are protesting against their government like ours. We did the same thing, and that is, look, the CFR's not so bad. Let's just get back to it. So we lose 3% of the population. We lost that through other means anyway. It's, but then it's like, oh no, I'd get the virus, says political leaders. I'd get the vaccine. That was Angela Merkel. I'd get the vaccine, but it's, look, I don't want to jump the queue. I don't want to drop the queue, right? And get the vaccine right now. You all take the vaccine, and I'll peer out through the crack, in my open window just to have a look to make sure you're all okay, and then I'll have the vaccine. Because since last week, Mecca, all of the countries not all, like 9 countries put the AstraZeneca vaccine on hold, waiting for some little research. But, 2 days later, we've done all the research we need. Yeah, let's game on again. Yep. Don't worry about the blood clots. No. What we'll do, AstraZeneca, can you write onto that pamphlet that no one sees? Can we write onto that, the one that's looks like a toilet roll with so many problems that you can have as a result? As it just taking any normal medication now, they list everything that's on the planet, right? You could get washmade's knee. Simpson quote. But now can you add blood clots? Sure, we'll add that. No worries. Hey, look, it's safe now because it's on the list. We added it. Yeah, it's a list. Mm-hmm. So yeah, can we keep distributing it now, just quietly? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. And but the smart doctors out there, which are being deplatformed, are talking about, well, there isn't really any long-term study yet. It's not long enough for us to have been able to study what happens to you 2 years down the track after the vaccine. Because as Mecca and I mentioned, the macrophages and your body's ability to fight an unknown within you, but unknowingly start to destroy yourself. Is an actual outcome. It's one of the outcomes. It's a possible outcome, and I don't want to get in trouble, so it's going to be very careful what I say. But there you go, right? So, just Mickey, for us in New South Wales, in East Coast New South Wales right now, where I thought vaccinations were a hard time to live through. Maybe even the fires. No, we got floods now.
No, we got floods. This is what is it? No, it's actually, they said 1 in 100 year flood, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Then it turned into a 1 in 50 year flood that I saw the news article. But we had that 5 years ago as well.
Yeah.
And they said now they're saying it was 1 in 500 year flood.
Maybe you and I are a lot older than we think. That's what it is.
I went to school with Methuselah, Mickey. Hey, don't laugh. You were there.
I was. That's just. I mean, this is insane. Yeah. No, look. The rain is phenomenal that's coming through here. The flooding and the level of flooding, the destruction of houses, livestock destruction. Mm-hmm. They had last night. I listened to the radio. Sorry, no, this was Friday night. Anyway, it doesn't matter. 260 rescues across Sydney. 260. It's unheard of. Like related to flood waters.
They had a tornado in Sydney's west.
Yeah, tornado.
Yep.
What?
And I saw the destruction. It was an F1, F0, F1, but still,
So we have to evacuate because of fire. We have to evacuate because of flood. We're still cowering in fear from the virus.
You get locked inside.
We've got mice that are eating us out of house and home. We've got locusts across the world, Dave. Locusts are everywhere, right?
Do you know what I wrote down as today's title? Tribulations, ?
Tribulations.
I've got a lot of people on my Facebook that I speak to who have, let's say they're deeply entrenched in religion. Yeah? And they've been looking at all of these things that are occurring and saying, because it's all, reverse engineering the terminology of the tribulations, right? And the seventh seals, right? And they're saying, well, maybe it's this, maybe the fires were this seal, and maybe this was that, and the plagues, and the locusts, and now vermin. Yeah, there is. They said a couple of billion with a B mice in New South Wales, out in our food zone.
In areas, it looks like the ground is moving.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like. That's what people describe it.
It made the news not because the farmers were filming it with their floodlights, just going, we baited and they ate all the bait, and we're spending $1,000 a week in bait, and it's made no difference at all. None. And it wasn't, Meki, until it didn't make the news. It wasn't until people in a hospital were being eaten by the mice.
Well, sorry, bitten.
Bitten.
They didn't eat the whole person.
Sorry. Visually,
it's like one of those 80s exploitation movies with these mice, the next plague. They come to eat you people.
Run for your life, kids.
My army of the mice. Come here, my pretties.
Run,
No,
pretties,
but
run.
the truth is people are being bitten, especially children are being bitten.
Yeah, that's true.
And that because mice, similar to most rodents, carry pathogens. And and that could turn into a significant health crisis. So now the farmers are calling on the government to pay for the extermination of those mice, as it were. It's serious. It's serious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
it is.
But having said that, they might come for you. They're coming for you. And next are the drop bears. They're coming for you next.
Hey, watch out for those drop bears. You can laugh.
I know. But look, it's really quite something to live through this. And it's not that we are more aware because we're living through it right now. Look, I've been on this planet for a while, so has Dave, and I do remember crisis points. There always were, and you always remember catastrophes and severe weather, and you do. Of course, they happen all the time. But this is compounded now. Right? In IT, we're talking about converged infrastructure, right? So everything is converging. So instead of having 3 or 4, 5, 6 boxes, you've got one box, and maybe not even a box. It's a virtual appliance in the cloud. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. But this is the same. It's all compressing and converging. The wars are still going on, and what that's happening it's hampering the vaccine rollout effort, and that's combined with further Ebola outbreaks, with floods, with famines, with locusts, with fires, with others, with economic and climate refugees. And now we up the top end in Australia, we got Papua New Guinea, which is going through a massive COVID-19 surge, and that's on top of the tuberculosis, the TBC outbreak they already have, and this is multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. That's the stuff that kills you. No cure.
There is no cure. That's right.
Yeah, it won't kill you tomorrow. It'll kill you eventually. But so this is all happening.
So, Meki, in November, I booked a cruise 2 years ago to go to New Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
And they told us, I think last week or the week prior, they said, oh, no, that's it. No, we're not going now. If you'd like to cruise up and down your own coastline, yeah, sure. We'll do that. And it's like, no, I'm good. Actually,
yeah, and see, I watched this again. Was a documentary. All these cruise ships, they're parked. They're anchored in clumps of various coasts in the world with a skeleton staff. They're not going anywhere. No one is cruising. Nobody is cruising. Normally, in summer, it's cruise season in Sydney Harbour, and you see every week you see, or maybe even 2 a week, you see cruise ships coming in. Not a single cruise ship has come to Sydney this summer, not a one. And it'll be a while before you get customer confidence back up again as well. But the thing is this, right? We're seeing all these things happening and all around us, and it seems to be accelerating. And people are dying, and people are not just dying, but people are also being affected in other ways. Living on the poverty line, just trying to just survive, existing really, not living. And none of this is helping. When we see the rich get richer and richer and richer, and the underclasses just fading into insignificance in every facet. I mean, there's nothing for these people anymore. I mean, this will explode at some point. It has to.
Meki, there's a contraction of the super wealthy or elite, right? Which separates us no differently than the castle with the peasants around it. It's no different to that, where we're not important at all, and we serve them for all their needs. And yet,
you know why
we're dispensable.
But you know why they had? Like I say, the feudal system existed for a very specific reason, and the feudal overlords had some very specific duties. So the king, and we're talking about like hundreds of years ago, now thousands of years even, because you have to ask yourself, well, how is it that the people said, yeah, you should be king? That's a good idea. I'll just work for you all my life, and you know, you're the king or the queen or whatever. Now, that doesn't just happen. Those people had a mandate given to them by God or the gods or, you know, some higher power. But in exchange for that power and privilege, they were expected to look after the people. There's a saying still in French, noblesse oblige. Nobility, Adel verpflichtet, what's in English? Obliges. Nobility obliges. You have to, if you're a nobleman or a noblewoman, you have to do certain things. You have to. No choice. Noblesse oblige, okay? In German, like I said, Adel verpflichtet. So in times of crisis, all the peasants, you know, as it were, would go to the castle to be safe. There would be food stores and water, and, you know, if there's a siege, they'd be there and they'd be okay. You know, the enemy might, you know, destroy the land, but the peasants, they would live. There was an understanding. Now, I'm not saying that people were happy, you know, or that, you know, there weren't any uprisings. Of course there were. But there was an understanding, right? And because it was a God-given power structure, or so it was portrayed. The church worked hand in hand with nobility and the royals, of course they did. That went out the window completely. Because the corporation, which is the, I guess, the predominant power structure today, has absolutely no interest in anything but making profit. In fact, right. it's stated explicitly that a corporation's only obligation is to make profit. And unfortunately, because that's where all the power sits these days, right? With these billionaires and billionaire corporations and multinationals, they're understanding that if something goes wrong, that we, the great unwashed, could come into the castle and be okay. No, that's completely off the table, right?
How quickly would security be, you know, provisioned to a large corporation?
They're building seed banks and bunkers for themselves. They've got the compounds. And I'm reminded of Arnie yet again. I mentioned it before. Yeah. He sent this video out on YouTube. You fools, just stay at home. Why don't you stay at home? Just all you have to do is stay at home. Go on,
do it.
He says, sitting in his compound, in the jacuzzi in the compound, smoking a cigar. Because we all have that compound, Dave, don't we?
Yeah, he's got a stogie. I thought he was in mine when I looked at the video. Hey, wait a minute, I had to run in there. No, I don't have a compound.
Same. Oh, he's like, my compound. No, not really. But that's the mindset as well. So you know, and Arnie is probably maybe one of the more switched on folks there. But if he's that far removed from reality, and just doesn't get where real people are at, they have to be physically at work or they don't get paid, etc., etc. Then the people that are at the top of the pyramid, as it were, which you will never see, by the way, they're completely detached. There's no common ground between most of us and them.
Yeah,
right? It just isn't. It couldn't be. And we wonder why we're in such a mess. Well, we shouldn't really, you know. Oh, Dave, I just saw this.
What's that?
I want to share it with our listeners because it just popped through on my BBC feed. Qantas says vaccines will be required to fly. Governments are going to insist on vaccines for international travelers. Qantas boss tells the BBC. Yeah, so that's it.
Here we go. Remember, we told you about this last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vaccine passports. You're going to require it. I know the cruise lines are now contemplating this, waiting. They're looking out their door through the peephole, seeing if anyone else wants to instill this first. And I think, set it into motion. And I think because of Qantas, I think we'll see a lot more of it instantly appear in the next week.
Yeah. So this is now, it's a thing. I mean, but this is okay.
Toe in the water.
I don't want to be negative, but the vaccine will not stop you from getting the disease. The vaccine will not stop you from spreading the disease.
All it does is it lessens your effects from the virus effects from you on you.
Correct. So let's say
you appear in society as an asymptomatic carrier of the virus,
or very mild, but you still carry it. So So the vaccine passport doesn't make any sense in that you are still carrying the virus and you can still infect people that maybe haven't been vaccinated. So,
or even those that have been vaccinated.
Yeah. So what would make more sense? I'm not saying that's what we should do, but if you follow that logical line down to the end, what makes more sense is that you get countries that have to have, where every citizen has to have a vaccine passport and they all have to be vaccinated. Those are our destinations we can go to, right? So each country has to become a vaccinated country and everybody has to carry a passport. And that's now a destination I can fly to. What I'm doing or what I'm not doing is completely irrelevant. I can be sick or not sick. It makes no difference to anyone because everybody there is vaccinated, right? If they do get sick, it'll be very mild. That makes sense. Me going there, even if I'm vaccinated, I could still carry it and make everybody sick that is not vaccinated in that country.
That's right.
For instance, right? If you follow that logic through. None of this makes sense, Dave. Do you understand what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense.
You don't have to tell me twice.
And yeah, I had the discussion around the blood clots and the Pfizer versus AstraZeneca with doctor friends of ours. And you know what was scary?
What's that?
It was just on repeat. So I would say something, and then this person would say one thing, and I would say something, and they would say the same thing. And I would say something, and they would say the same thing again that they had said before. And then I changed my tag, and then they would say a second thing, and repeat that throughout the conversation. Not engaging in a conversation, but just repeating as though it was learned by rote. Oh no, this vaccine is
like
actually,
they were hypnotized and told to answer everything with that phrase. Yep.
Yeah, I said, you know, the thing was, oh, if you take the vaccine, you won't get sick. I said, no, that's not true. You can still get sick and you can still carry the virus. And that person said, oh no, that you won't be infectious. I said, that's also not true. And then I said, if I was going to take a vaccine, I'll take the Pfizer, thank you very much, or the AstraZeneca. And the person said, oh yeah, but that will still ensure that you don't get as sick and you won't die. So the upshot of taking the vaccine is that you won't get as sick and you don't die. Those are the two things that came out in the end as to why you should take the AstraZeneca vaccine. So you don't get as sick and you don't die.
But
Those are the
its
two
efficacy
things.
is only 70%.
Yeah.
And the Pfizer was 93%.
Exactly. So I said, give me the Pfizer, I can have it. He said to me, you will never get the Pfizer because it's only for frontline workers. I was like, and I get that. I understand it. But that's the one I'll take. Thank you very much. So
Can you see, Mickey, who gets what as being the primary choice?
Of course.
Right? Dictated by the government who wants to save the frontline people, but the rest don't matter? That's what I see. Yeah. I really apologize to everybody for expressing that, but that's so absolutely top of mind for me.
Well, for me too. But the thing is, you can actually make an argument, a logical argument, why you do that. Well, you do it because those people, they have to be more available. They have to get the, you know.
Yeah.
If it was given to all the police and whatever, then we would have an issue, right? I do understand though that who was it?
Greg Hunt.
No, someone got AstraZeneca.
Yeah, Greg Hunt got AstraZeneca, and he's still offline, and so did Andrews.
Yes. And
he got disorientated and fell down stairs, and he's broken part of his spine.
Yeah, he did. Thanks for the segue, by the way. Gets me right to Parliament because I don't want to lose this one.
Keep going.
We have so in Australia, and I mentioned this last week, we have 3 senior members of government out of action. Greg Hunt, because he was sick.
He had blood clots in his lower legs.
Yeah. Defense Minister, the lady, as well as our chief, I guess, legal officer, if you will, right? The Attorney General.
That's right.
On historic rape allegations. Not saying that he did anything or didn't do anything.
Historic meaning that they occurred back in the 80s, and the person committed suicide.
Yeah, I spent some time last week discussing the consequences of that.
Okay.
So hoping you're remembering that, guys. But the point here is 3 people out, and 2 of those because of rape allegations. That's also unprecedented. And then globally, it just bubbles up. And you know what the funny thing is, Dave? This is not going away. this has been going on for 5 weeks now, and women have protested in Canberra. This was just last week.
Yes, right. And the PM didn't come out.
Yeah, and no senior politicians came out.
That's right.
To see them, nothing. And I'm just blown away by that, right? I mean, people were allegedly raped in our Parliament House. So like, you think of it, it'd be like the White House, right?
Inside the White House equivalent.
Or Congress or something like that, right? And you're going, what? You mean, this is just stunning. And then the chief legal officer of the nation, okay, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's no longer the question, is accused of having raped someone 30 years ago. The chief legal officer. Now, is this a malicious and false allegation? Well, I can tell you that the woman who made the allegation took her own life, allegedly. So she's not getting anything out of it, right? If anybody thinks, oh, this is just some kind of thing for her to get publicity or make some money, she killed herself, or allegedly killed herself. Okay.
She fought long and hard to try and bring the information out.
Yeah.
And just hit Stonewall.
Yeah, and now her friends and family are coming out and saying, "Oh, hey, something happened here." Now, an ex-boyfriend of hers came out. So, yeah, I remember conversations about this.
Yeah.
So this is. So you must. I mean, again, if the guy is innocent, that's terrible. But you cannot have someone in a position like that with the shadow of a doubt.
That's true too. And there's also this thing called duty of care.
Yeah.
That if anything within any workplace, government or otherwise, right? Any workplace, anywhere, even outside in the public, there's a duty of care to investigate it. And of course they didn't. And I think this is the biggest outcry, is that it seems more and more male cover it up kind of approach. Women are nothing, and I think that's so disappointing. We've come so far, and yet this is still something that's eating us in from the inside, right?
And Scotty for marketing, our prime minister says, "Oh, we got to follow rule of law," and the rule of law says, I'm going to say something about rule of law in a second. Rule of law says that we have to presume his innocence, and the police said nothing's to investigate. She conveniently killed herself one day after sending an email that she will no longer pursue this matter. So she sends an email, mind you, an email. Anybody can send an email saying to the police, "Look, I don't want to pursue this anymore." The next day she offs herself. That's, if I were even remotely conspiratorially inclined.
Yeah, that's right.
I would think, hey, it doesn't really ring true. It smells a bit fishy. Let's investigate this. What happened here? Nope.
No, that's the end of that. Don't need to see that anymore, right?
And that's unacceptable. You cannot run a country like this. And
because just allegedly, from a timeline perspective, you can delay the sending of an email.
Of course you can.
Right? When's the official time of death and cause of death? Could someone have sent it on her behalf, having already taken her out? Or when she sent it, she felt so awful that she took her own life because she was under duress. Who knows?
But you know what else came out over those last 5 weeks? The women are to blame. That's what the general consensus was in the government, in anybody, the police, the military. They say, well, did you go out late? Did you wear something provocative? And I saw this beautiful sign, this poster sign. This is about, in Pakistan, a woman was raped, and her two rapists are now facing a death sentence. And in the picture here, there's a lady holding up a sign that says, "Don't get raped," right? Don't get raped. She with the red line crossed out "get," and the D, so don't rape. And this is really where the disconnect is here, because our institutions in Australia, and it's similar elsewhere in the Western, in fact, the Eastern world too, we try to tell women, "Oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't wear this, you shouldn't go there at night, you shouldn't do anything." Whereas in fact, what should happen?
That absolves the
don't rape.
Yeah, that absolves the responsibility from the men saying the women caused it. Yeah, I know, it's awful.
Tell the men don't rape. Just tell them that.
Yeah, don't rape. Yeah.
Oh, well, and I find it astounding that we actually have to say that.
We should. I thought that was already done and dusted. I didn't think there was anything else to say about this.
No, it's still victim blaming, man. It's still, she was a bit provocative. Oh, she had too many drinks.
So? Unless they're
I'm
consenting, mate. I'm telling you.
But I'm a guy, right? And if I get completely, and I've been drunk in my life, I've lost time. That's how drunk I was. I don't expect to wake up raped in a ditch, right?
That's true.
And it probably wouldn't. It wouldn't happen. It could. I'm not saying it can't, but it probably wouldn't because I'm a guy, right? But if you're a woman and you get legless, then chances are pretty good that someone's going to take advantage of you. What is that? What kind of mentality is that?
That's just. Oh man, I can't. I find it hard to talk about it.
I find it very hard, it's something I have to talk about, right?
I've got two girls.
Same.
Yeah.
But even if I didn't, and this is really, and I don't want to go into the details here, but I know what kind of guy I am, right? And if I can be that guy, then everybody can be that guy.
Yeah.
Be the guy that hears no. Doesn't matter how far progressed you are in the thing,
in the activity,
whatever it is. If a no comes out of anywhere, right? Then guess what?
That's the door shutting.
That's door shutting, and like I said, I'm glad that I was tested that way, I guess, in a way, right? Where things progress and then no, okay, right, understood, right? If I can do that, and I was young then, right? So like a young kind of guy, hormones raging, etc., etc. Not an excuse. It's a choice. No. It's a choice.
Choice. Yeah.
Everybody has a choice.
That's right.
Okay. So I will take no excuses and no justifications at all for any kind of violence like that. That's complete nonsense. If I ever get my hands on anyone like that,
don't finish the sentence.
No, right?
Yeah, look. All I would say is, God help the person that did that to one of my any lady that I know. Yeah, not just my own peeps, right?
And I don't care if I go to jail or not. It wouldn't bother me in the least.
Yeah,
okay, it makes no difference.
Do you know what? I want to say my daughter's school is closed tomorrow because of the floods.
No. Are you serious?
Yeah. Roads are cut off by flood water and are closed, including Fountains Road, Pandala Lane, Hanlon Street, Reeves Street, Carrington Street, Dean Street, and Narara Valley Drive. Getting into school is not possible, nor safe to do so. And that's all of my ways out. I cannot leave my house.
So is it true? Hang on. I remember the fires were near. So I'm not saying that that's what happened, but for the last year or so, your children could have missed school because of fire.
Yes.
Disease or plague.
That's right.
And flood.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yep.
Jeez, Lord Almighty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The tribulations. I think it's kind of crazy.
The trouble with tribbles. That's what they called the
tribbles. I remember the tribbles. Yes. They edited in. They've done a fan edit and edited in the new Star Trek people into that old episode. It's really, really cool if you're a big fan. It's a very funny episode as a result. It's actually pretty cool. So look, this is David Mackey's Shiny Side Out. This is the end of the first hour. And what we're going to do is we're going to, if you're watching this live on YouTube, we're going to establish another YouTube stream after the top of the hour. And there's my dog Cujo. It's not called Cujo.
Doesn't sound like Cujo.
No, it sounds like one of those little dogs that are like 2 inches tall. Emma. That barks until you open up the flight screen door, and then they freak out because they got access to it. And there's the music. Look, you listen to freedomslips.com, and it's only a very short break, and we'll come back straight after the break with our show topic, which is the Coral Castle.
As promised.
There you go. All right, take care, everyone. See you in just a couple minutes.